Hello. Hi, everybody. Hi, Amber. Hello, Peggy. Hi, Rhonda. How are you guys? Hope you're doing great tonight. I'm just going to have a little kombucha. Hi, Kel. Hi, Connie. Good to see you guys. Kel, how's your day going? I hope you're having a good one. Well, excuse me. I found the fabrics that I couldn't find the other day. Crazy, right? That's what happens when you have too much stuff in your studio. Okay, we're gonna put these away and use these other ones. I'm doing great today. Oh, Amber, you're still sick. I'm not surprised. Today went really well. Good, Kel. That's great. That's great. So, last we were together, I fumbled my way, quite literally. I fumbled my way through making a fabric coffee cup sleeve. It was a little sad on, when was it? Friday? Anyway, we're back. We're back together. I think I got my act together. Hello, Jenny. Good to see you. Good morning. Yeah. So anyway, I have the ones to show you. Then I'm going to cut out a couple more. And we're going to, by golly, we're going to make a couple more that should be simpler. It should be simpler. Let me show you the ones that I finished up from the Friday, and it wasn't really a fiasco. It just didn't go smoothly. Anyway, these are sleeves. Sleeves for the coffee cups that you get at pretty much any coffee shop. Okay? And this was one with hand-painted fabric. One of the reasons I was struggling with this is because the hand-painted fabric was flowing under the foot of the sewing machine. So we're going to try another one of those, but we're going to see if we can outsmart it. And this one is an old cutter quilt, which is this. So it's a cutter quilt, which means that it is not usable as a quilt any longer because it has lived its life and it is rotting away various places. It's rotting and you got to do something to fix it. And so you either fix it by repairing it and replacing the patches that are worn out, or you give it new life by putting a new backing on it. So this is the original backing here. I put a new piece of muslin on the back of this one, and then I started just doing various kinds of stitching on the machine, free motion stitching, doing sort of drawing Zentangle designs with the sewing machines. Not every Zentangle type pattern is appropriate for a sewing machine, but some of them are. And that's what I did. And I took a section of it, cut it out, and made what I had already stitched into a coffee sleeve. Okay, so that is using old recycled fabrics. And this is new fabric that I painted. Okay. They're held together with velcro because I like the adjustability of it. the original one, the very first one I ever did. Now, you do have to use a sewing machine when you do this. I don't think you can do this by hand. The original one, very first one I ever did, this was, I don't even know how many years ago I did this one. But I sewed it closed. I serged it, actually, closed. So there's no adjustability, and I personally did not care for that. So hence the Velcro idea. That way it gives you a little bit more flexibility with, if you want the sleeve, if you don't want it as far up the cup, like if your cup is fatter, some of the Velcro is going to show, but you could Velcro it together so it's not going to go, it won't go as far, or it'll go further up. It won't go as far, like if your cup is fatter. If your cup is thinner, more slender, then you can overlap the Velcro just as long as it has something to hold on to. You just put the Velcro, overlap it as much as you want. It's a utilitarian thing, okay? It's decorative, yes, but it's meant to serve a purpose, and that's to protect your hand and help keep your drink a little warmer, okay? So, there you go. Now, this one is probably one I'll keep for myself because I like the colors of it, but it is not my best work. I will freely admit that. I mean, it's okay, but it's not the best work. So we're going to refine the process a little bit more today and do it again because I say, why not? So I'm going to take this piece of hand-painted fabric, which was painted, I think this was printed on the jelly plate. And I have a paper pattern, so here's my paper pattern. Let's see, is that the one? No, that's not the one I used. The one I used. And also, another thing you can do is you can use pre-quilted fabric. If you have scraps of pre-quilted fabric, this is cotton on both sides. You definitely do not want the kind of pre-quilted stuff that's got like the jersey or a knitted fabric on the back, a synthetic. Hey, Barbara. Hey, scrappy girl Dana. These are not very thick, so I don't know how much protection they're going to give you, but you certainly could do that. And this was just as a sample, so I didn't even finish the edges of it, but you could do that also. Good, Barbara. Hopefully we will lull you right off to sleep. So I made the pattern based on the sleeve that comes with this happens to be a Starbucks cup. They're getting to a point now in some places where they make you ask for a sleeve. So, if you want to make your own, you don't even have to ask them for a sleeve. So I used a piece of batting. This is cotton batting. You do not want a synthetic batting for this process. And because I painted this fabric and I can paint it again, I'm going to cut it out of the middle because that's what I like. That's the section I like. So I'm going to put the batting on here, which is, let's just use the sleeve pattern instead. I made it out of cardstock, and I'm just going to use a pencil and draw around it. So what you need is you need your top fabric, which is going to be the part that's going to show on the outside. You're going to need that. You're going to need a piece of cotton batting. You're going to need something for the backing or the inside. And you're going to need some way to finish the edges of the coffee sleeve or the drink. It doesn't have to be coffee. Maybe you like hot chocolate. Maybe you like hot tea. And for this one, because I'm working with the hand-painted fabric, we are going to put a layer of tulle on it because tulle solves a myriad of problems. And I didn't have my thinking cap on Friday and did not put the tulle on it. That should solve our problem with a sticky presser foot. Okay, so there is our piece of fabric. Here is the tulle. I decided to use a piece of red tulle. This is a scrap. I'm going to let it kind of hang off the edges, and I'm just going to whack out a piece of tulle, but I'm not going to make it the size of my coffee sleeve because that is a recipe for frustration. And this is not netting, this is tulle. This is like the stuff they make tutus out of. It's tulle. Tulle. Netting is much bigger. The holes are a lot bigger in the fabric. Okay? Alrighty. So we have a layer of tulle. Let's call it the fashion fabric. A layer of batting. And then we need to have something to go on the inside. So I'm going to use this. I bet they did, Jenny. She said they just got a Starbucks in Perth, their first one. I bet people did go crazy. Isn't it funny how people do? And now in the United States, there's about one on every corner. Just about. Not quite. That's an exaggeration. Okay. So I'm going to take this fabric. Of course, I had to get the world's biggest piece of fabric here. And we're going to try to avoid the wrinkle. And I'm just going to draw around it with a pencil. And cut it out. So how have you guys been? I meant to ask you all on Friday how your Thanksgiving was. And then I'll tell you about the Studley Ducks' crazy adventures on Saturday. No more car accidents, that's good. But he could have had one, I'll tell you what, because it was some bad weather here on Saturday, Friday night and Saturday, mostly Saturday. So how was your Thanksgiving? I hope that you had a good holiday, if you celebrate. If you don't, I hope you had a good day. This is just a cotton for the back. These scraps like this, I tend to save. They're big enough to do something with until I either use them up or I get frustrated and I throw them away. Because that happens too. This morning when I was, and this afternoon late when I was trying to clean up the studio and find my space, I was tossing stuff right, left, and center. There's going to be a lot more of that going on as I get ready to move my studio. I will be cutting this space way, 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 way down. Let's see. Hi, Lucia. Good to see you. You're just about doing okay, Barbara. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Hello, Brenda. Hi, Terry. You finished the last of the turkey today. I made turkey soup, turkey noodle soup last night. I used every scrap of what we had with the turkey. Every single scrap. I surely did. I surely did use all the turkey. Okay, so let's my switching box has decided it's not gonna work tonight, so we're just gonna punt a little bit, be a little less smooth than sometimes. Hopefully everybody can just hang with us. If the sound is still funky, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it will be until the chief technician comes back, and that's not going to be for a little while. So we're just going to have to punt. If you're having issues with the sound, you're just going to have to kind of deal with it. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be right back. I'm going to get some clips instead of trying to use pins in this. So I'll be right back. Okay, so these are Quilter's clips. They are Quilter's Perfect clips, to be exact. So I'm going to use those to clip this together instead of pins. You have to cut away a little bit more of this tool. Which I'm sure it looks like I'm cutting on air. I'm really not. I'm actually cutting fabric. But this allows you not to have to use pins. So let's cut off a little bit more of that. I don't want to cut it too close to the edge, because it's like sewing on water anyway. So you kind of have to be a little careful with it. These Quilter's clips are nice to use. The disadvantage is you cannot sew over them, but you know, you shouldn't sew over pins anyway. But you certainly cannot sew over these. You have to be aware of what you're doing. Okay, so there's our little kind of sandwich thing of fabrics. I'm just kind of smoothing things out in case I need to. So do you guys make turkey soup? Turkey pot pie? Okay. Homemade. Hey, Angela. You made a homemade turkey pot pie. That sounds pretty good. It does. All right. And I may just put a couple of pins in the middle of this just to kind of help hold things together. Right down through the middle. So let's see if this works better than the struggle I was managing to have the other day, Friday. Anytime you're using multiple layers, things kind of want to shift around a little bit. And there you go. Okay, let's set that one aside. The other pieces of collage fabric that I was referencing on Friday but did not have to show you, this one and this one, hopefully you guys might remember. Some of you, I did this on stream. I have this one. This one I know we did together. So we have this one also. So we have several different pieces of fabrics. So I think we're going to do, how about, since we don't have as much of this red, how about if we do one of this red? I think I'll save this one to do something else with. So let's do a red one. You remember sewing that one? When I sewed that? Good. Okay, so I'm just going to put it on the back. I'm not going to pay any attention to what's on the front. Let's serendipity take over. If you will use cardstock or plastic as your pattern, it gives you an edge, or you could use cardboard, obviously, a lightweight cardboard, like a cereal box cardboard. It gives you an edge to draw against. And that is nice to have a surface or an edge to draw against, because it gives you a place for your pencil to rest. My preferred thing to make patterns out of is X-ray plastic. Now, because we've moved into the technological age of digital everything, they don't do X-rays with plastic film anymore. So my X-ray plastic, which I have quite a bit of it still, I'm telling you, I am so happy that I have it. It's the equivalent of Quilter's template plastic, but it was free, so that was nice. But I tend to make my doll patterns and pretty much any other kind of pattern that I want to keep using either Quilter's template plastic or the old X-ray film that I still have. All right, so we have that, okay? And let's just cut out another one while we did this one together. So let's just cut out another one of this with this one. And let's take this section and we'll see what we get when we cut it out and turn it over. So turkey pot pie. How do you do the turkey pot pie? That's what I would like to know. Do you make a crust? Or is it more like a shepherd's pie with like a mashed potato topping? I'd like to know that. This particular one that has the turquoise, the teal, and the orange, that was a color combination that Barbara Clark gave me when we were putting this fabric together as a collage from scraps from my scrap bins. You know, I keep trying to use up scraps. And you know what happens with scraps? You don't use them up. You just make more scraps. That's all you do. You just make more. So you either have to finally decide to bite the bullet and throw away the scraps, or you have to just be absolutely zealous about using up the scraps and don't use anything but scraps. And so there's that one cut out. Okay, All right, for these two, we also need to have the batting and, let's see, do I want a batting with this one? I think I do. Use a batting and a backing fabric. So let's do that. Let's cut out. This is just cotton batting. Use scraps and make scraps. I'll tell you what, I don't know if it's a good idea or not, Jenny. Using scraps to make more scraps. Is that really smart? I mean, really. I'm just going to use a Sharpie and see if I can just kind of give myself a pattern here. I don't know how smart it is to use scraps to make more scraps. All right, let's see. The sound is doable. That's good. That is a good thing it's doable because it's what we got. It is what we have. I don't know what. It's probably a very fixable issue, but it requires more than one person. It certainly requires more than one person to fix sound issues. All right, let's whack these out. And then once I cut this out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read about how you make turkey pot pie. Miss Muppet stayed at the vet's for several days. She boarded at the vet's. And boy, was she ready to come home last night. Yeah, I was going to tell you what Studley Duck did on Saturday. I'll tell you that in a minute. Don't let me forget. All right, so we have two innards, two layers of batting for those. And then we need to have the backing fabric. And so I think maybe for this one, I'll just use more of this fabric that I just used, which I have a big piece of it. So we're just gonna lay the pattern on here and draw around it and cut it out. All right. Let me get my pieces cut out. I only have this one and one more backing fabric to cut out, and or lining fabric or what have you. And then we'll be ready to rock. And what I'm going to use to edge these this time, instead of using trim, I'm going to use yarn. Now, these coffee sleeves are not necessarily washable. I suppose you could hand wash them as long as there's no paper involved in your collage. If you have, if you like to make fabric paper, invariably when I do fabric paper, somebody will write a comment and say, well, what do you do if you want to wash it? And it's like, well, you don't. You just don't. I don't know why people think everything needs to be washable. You know, my attitude is I made it once. If it gets dirty, you know, if I am too sloppy and I slap coffee or tea or whatever on my sleeve, and it's too bad, and sometimes it is. Boy, I got to tell you about one of the things that makes a huge mess. Remind me about that too. If it's that bad, I can make a new one. I have more scraps where this came from. I have more scraps. I can make a new one. Okay, so let's put that with that. And this one, let's use this one, which is this kind of bright orange. I think that would be interesting because it's got this orange in it. I think this is the best one of the ones that I brought in here. I have more fabrics, believe me, but we don't want to go there. All right, we don't want to go there. We're just going to use what we have right here. Sometimes it's good. In fact, it's often very good to give yourself boundaries and say, I'm going to use this color combination, or I'm going to use these fabrics or these papers or these whatevers that are in my space or on my desk or what have you, because that does help you not get quite, you're not tempted into sinking into overwhelm quite as readily. Okay. We are almost there. It's good if you take a little more time preparing your supplies than I am, but I'm just, as Larry the Cable Guy says, I'm just going to get her done. Okay. Let me stop and look at the chat for a minute. Okay, so we have that. With that, we have this with this. And we have this one, which is the hand-painted fabric that we're going to try again with that. Okay? All right. Okay, let's see. Oops. There we go. All right, let me see. Let me read the chat just for a minute. I'm going to scroll back. Okay. Angela says she used mixed veggies. Can of cream of mushroom soup and meat, garlic powder, salt, onion powder, and top with homemade biscuit dough. Oh, okay. But I didn't think about biscuit dough. So let's see what Terry says. My husband will try cooking once in a while, and he learned to make his favorite cherry pie and crust from his mom, so it wasn't too much of a stretch to make a chicken pot pie. There you go. Mocha creamer. Mocha creamer does not sound good. It took him years to try again. That's funny. Yes, scraps do make great landscape pieces, Lucia. Absolutely. Hi, Peg. I know, we're making more scraps. We're using scraps. Mixed media can be so cluttering. You are so right, Brenda. It does. I'm just taking a second to read the chat here because I didn't get to see it. Brown gravy and stew meat. Here you go. So you can make turkey or chicken or beef pot pie. There you go. I used to love the pot pies, the little round ones that I'm sure they're terrible for you, but I used to love those. Coffee creamer pie crust. That's funny. Hey, Dorothy. Okay. Hello, Fast Quilter. I haven't seen you in a while. Hello, Mickey. Sandy. Good to see you, Sandy. Okay. All right. So we have pieces and parts cut out. Now, the fabric, I keep forgetting that my little dealie is not cooperating tonight. The fabric that we created is created from scraps, okay? So these were scrap collages that I made a while ago that I couldn't find the other day, but by golly, I triumphed and we found them. Only because I cleaned up my studio space. It's the only reason I found them. So, yeah, one of the things that makes a horrendous mess at our church, and this happened, I think, to all churches everywhere, when the pandemic occurred, if they served communion, and at the church that we go to, they serve communion every Sunday, and for the longest time, there was a committee of mostly women who fixed the communion and put it in the little cups. Well, you can't do that with the pandemic. Once they started going back to live services again, they could not do that, and so they ended up having to go to the prepared, and we had this discussion when I went back to church. We had this big discussion about what that was like for me, what that experience was like when they I don't know how I managed to come out so uneven here. Let's even this up just a little bit. Anyway, so they're having to do the pre-packaged communion cups, and they have the wafer with it. And, well, those, I'm going to tell you, my son gives me all kinds of grief because he says, I'm going to tell you. Because I do use that expression. Let me tell you something. Those things, okay, those little cups, come with the wafer on, usually on the top. It's either the top or the bottom. And those little cups are going to get you because they have to be sealed tight enough that they don't leak. Yeah. Well, our minister's wife, I think it was at Easter last year or something. She had on a white dress. White dress, communion cups with grape juice, purple grape juice in them. Not a good combination. And apparently some of those cups, the plastic, I don't know what kind of glue they use on those, or heat seal them or whatever they do. Some of those, whoa doggies, some of those get real tough. And so apparently she wore, I didn't see it happen, but her husband ratted her out and said that she popped it open. You know, she was giving it a little extra tug. And it, yeah, it's terrible. I know, so many changes. Goodness. So many changes. And some of it was for the better. I mean, the little communion cups, they have just stayed with that because it's so much easier, you know. It's probably less expensive, and it probably is a great deal more sanitary than having people, you know, have to prepare it with their hands, you know. So it probably is better, really. That probably was a good thing that came out of the pandemic, but it sure is it certainly is a very strange experience that you hear when you hear all of the plastic being taken off, the little plastic lids come off and they go, yeah, it's a weird sound. There's something about that that's just strange. But anyway, so all I'm doing at the moment while I'm chatting with you is just putting these layers together and just kind of evening things up a little bit more. Anytime you're trying to put layers of things together, you are going to have some things that are just not going to be perfectly even as you work. So you kind of take your time a little bit, and the more that you take your time to prepare your materials and prepare your everything that you're doing, the better your end result usually turns out to be. And you'd think that drawing around the same exact pattern 3 times that you'd have 3 things the same size, but nope. Not necessarily so. Okay. Hopefully we got it. We shall see. We shall see. So anyway, yeah, that makes a big mess. All right, let me get my sewing machine up here. And so we have 3 of these ready to go. I will show them to you before I get the machine. And we'll see. We actually might be able to get all 3 of them done tonight. We're going to find out. Yes, we are. So we have this one, which this is hand-painted fabric. I'm just going over this again for people who might have just come in or came in after I did it. This is hand-painted fabric. It has a layer of cotton on the back, has a layer of cotton batting in the middle, and I also put a layer of tulle, which is the stuff that tutus are made out of, dance costumes. I put that over the hand-painted fabric, which should let the machine glide right over it, as opposed to hanging up like this one did. Okay? It's everyone touching the wafer that got you. There you go. Yeah. Okay, then we have this one. That's what's on the back. It also has a layer of batting in the middle, cotton batting. Here's this one, same thing, a layer of batting in the middle and a layer of cotton, quilting cotton on the back. Okay, so let me get my sewing machine up here. And so what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to switch to kind of a neutral thread just for this part to go around the edge, because all I want to do is sew the layers together. So let me just get a little bobbin here. And it seems like no matter how prepared a person is, they never have the right bobbin color or a full bobbin. So when that happens, guess what you guys get to watch? You get to take a second and have me wind a bobbin real quick. When you wind the bobbin, you need to, if you're not familiar with how to do that on your particular sewing machine, you need to get your owner's manual out. Now, if you bought an inexpensive sewing machine and it didn't come with an owner's manual, because some of them now are not doing that. Some of them now are, okay, wait, what, okay, hold on a minute. Hang on, you guys. Okay, why is this not working? All right. My bobbin winder has decided that in this moment it may not want to work. Hold on one more time. We're going to try it again. If it doesn't, I will switch to some weird bobbin I have. Oh, I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. You know, when you have a machine that runs with a foot pedal, if you don't have the foot pedal plugged in, it doesn't run. Can you imagine such a thing? Oh, you guys, I tell you what. Sorry, that was too loud. Hi, Denise. Hi, Kathy. I'll tell you. Okay, we got a bobbin. Now, when you thread your sewing machine, when you thread the machine, you see this presser foot? That's down, this is up. You must thread the machine with the presser foot up. I say that over and over and over. And the reason is, if you don't thread your sewing machine with the presser foot in the up position, the thread does not drop down into the tension dials, the tension discs rather. It doesn't drop down into the tension discs, and then you get these weird looking stitches when you start sewing. And I can't tell you how many sewing machines we repaired that it was just a matter of threading that was the issue, or a dull needle that had, you know, a needle that had never been changed. Although we did have one sewing machine we did have one sewing machine that came to us, and it was a young woman. She had kids with her, which is always a little frightening when the children show up in your space, your creative space, because they don't always know how to behave in somebody else's space, you know. And that one, the mom came in and she didn't know, couldn't understand why her sewing machine wasn't working. and we got into it, and it had orange Kool-Aid or orange soda. Yep, it surely did, dripping inside the machine. So all I'm doing here is just doing a line of machine stitching around the outside edge, and all I want to do with this is hopefully just hold the layers together. So I'm here to tell you, if you have kids or grandkids and they get around your sewing machine, watch them, okay? Another time we had a plastic car, or it was a car or a army man, you know, kid's toy, down inside the machine. Because if there is a slot or a hole anywhere in a sewing machine, it is a perfect place for little boys to see if they can, and little girls too sometimes, you know, it depends on the little girl. It's a perfect place for them to stick things. And I can guarantee you, sewing machines do not work well if they have extra things inside of them. They really don't. Okay, so this is what I got. Put his toast in the DVD tray. There you go. Well, that's one I haven't heard of. All right. I don't think we ever found anything edible down in a sewing machine, but we did find well, that's not true, because the Kool-Aid was, well, I guess you'd consider that edible. I'm just going to even these edges up just a wee bit, which may alter the shape, the outside shape of this sleeve a little bit, but it's not going to alter it much. Okay, so we have the thing that we're after is just to get everything held together. Okay, so let's do this one. Because if things are held together, that should make life easier for us. And if my head gets in your way, I apologize, but I do need to be able to see what I'm doing, at least a little bit. At least a little bit, you guys. Yes. So I was going to tell you about Saturday. So this past Saturday was the last football game for the local university here. And that's a big deal. You know, that's a big deal, because when the last game happens, then that helps determine things about bowl games and stuff like that, and rank. I don't know. I'm not that up on all the football stuff. Anyway, I know it's a big deal. Okay, so, and it's a holiday weekend, and that's a big deal. And the forecast is miserable, absolutely miserable. There is a band of snow and horrible weather coming across the Midwest. And I'm thinking, oh man, I'm so not looking forward to this. Because we had a lot of people that were planning to go to the football game with us. And so I think there were 10 people that were going to go. And out of those 10 people, that number dwindled and dwindled and dwindled, because people were coming from out of town and that kind of thing. And so it was a little it was a little scary for people, of course, because the weather was, it was really not good. And it was cold. And Saturday morning, the game is Saturday afternoon. And the forecast is for snow and yuck. And I'm like, And Studley Duck said to me, "You don't have to go to the game if you don't want to." And you know what I said? I don't want to. I probably could have stayed warm because I have accumulated warm clothes. But when I was offered the chance not to go, Oh, Denise. What are we making? We're making sleeves to go on a cup. That's what we're making. This one's made from an old quilt. This one's made from hand-painted fabric. We've got these two that are going to be made from fabric collages that we did on stream. And this is hand-painted fabric. But what we're doing on this one is we are covering it with a layer of tulle because it should keep it from sticking. Yep. Every once in a while I forget my own, what shall I say? I forget my own knowledge base. It's like the computer in my head has a glitch, and that's what it did on Friday. It absolutely glitched. I figured I'd get people giving me all kinds of grief on that stream, but it really didn't. So surprise, surprise, surprise. You never know. The streams where I think, oh, this one is going to be, that stream went really well. Those are the ones that somebody gives you all kinds of grief on. Yep. The last one that gave me grief was, this is really interesting, but I just can't spend this amount of time watching somebody do this. Like, well, don't then. I know people's time is valuable. I get it. That's why there's a fast forward. That's why you can just drag your finger down across the bottom of the screen or hit the fast forward button, or you can watch me in double time and I'll talk like a chipmunk. Anyway, so Studley Duck is going to go to the football game, but then he thinks maybe he won't. Maybe it'd be good if we just stayed home and had better sense, We just stayed home, and by golly, you know what we could do? We could sit in a warm house and we could watch the game from the comfort of a warm house on the couch. Except for the fact that his granddaughter, age 14, came with her mom because her mom was doing a trunk show. And so granddaughter was very much looking forward to going to the football game with her grandfather and a friend. And she she'd never experienced a football game with terrible weather. And she thought that would be fun. Okay, now I don't know in what universe a kid thinks that going someplace where you're going to be miserable could possibly be fun. But she did. She thought it would be fun. I'm like, whoa, no, no, thank you. So anyway, she more or less guilted him into going. And after all, he is a true fan. So he decided that, you know, he probably should go and support the team. But once I was offered the chance to stay out of the yucky weather, I was like, oh no. No, you gave me the chance to stay home. I'm staying home. I know, Rhonda. You can't. Nope. You cannot say no to a grandkid. That is so true. All right, let's find some a thread color that'll work with this, and hopefully we'll see how this goes. What am I going to put on the bottom of this? I'm just going to put this on the bottom. It might actually even be the same. Might be the same color thread. Might not. Well, you know what? I'm just going to leave the gray on the bottom. I'm not going to change the thread on the bottom. I'm not. But I'm going to put pretty thread on the top. Because we need to attach these layers together, and so that's what we're going to do here. So anyway, they got ready to go to the game, and these two teenage girls did not have appropriate clothes. And mostly for their feet. If your feet are cold, you are truly, truly miserable. And they did have some creative solutions as to how they were going to deal with their cold, wet feet. But they really weren't solutions that were going to work particularly well. And so we had to kind of come up with an alternate plan. And I think they did real well until sometime the third quarter of the game, and then they got pretty cold. Anyway, they all stayed till the game was over, and then they all came home, and I think it took a long time before anybody warmed up. A long time. Woo, a long time. Okay, let's find... Where is my... Over the shoulder. There we go. Okay. Okay, so here we are. And I have just trimmed up the edges of this one. So let's see how this goes. And I'm going to start... I'm going to use my presser foot running along the edge of this. These are handmade. These are not guaranteed to be anything phenomenal. I have moved my needle all the way over, so it's running about probably 3/8 of an inch from the edge, or maybe just a shade more. Oh, stitching like a dream. I'm telling you, stitching like a dream. I'm telling you, all you got to do is remember what you know. It helps. Yeah, so they came home and they were tired, and they were hungry, and they were cold. All of them. But our team won, and so that helped. That helped make it a little more tolerable. And there, at one end of our stadium, there is this hill. And because it's the University of Missouri, there is a big, giant M in rocks on that hill. And that's where a lot of the students and people like to sit on the hill. Now, I'm telling you what, there weren't a lot of people sitting on the hill that day. And if anybody was smart, there wouldn't have been anybody sitting on that hill. But, you know, what can I say? Not everybody's as smart as Chance and I were on Saturday, where we sat at home and cuddled under a blanket and watched the game on TV. Yeah, we did. Now, when you do this step that I'm doing right here, you can do this any number of ways. You can make up any pattern you want to make up. You could do free motion stitching. You can do anything you want to. I'm just simply doing rows of straight stitches. That's all I'm doing here. Now, I'm going to give you the chance to vote here in a second. So be thinking of, just stay tuned for knowing that you're going to have some input here in a minute. And the thread I'm using on the top is my favorite variegated thread, which is from the Superior Company, and it's called King Tut. It's a cotton machine embroidery thread. It is my favorite thread. I love it because it's variegated. And I love the color selection. And I used to be able to buy it locally, and my quilt store decided not to carry it anymore. Actually, what happened was the quilt store changed hands, and the new owner, for whatever reason, decided he didn't want to carry it. And I'm like, that's so sad, because I just hate ordering threads online personally. It's like ordering fabric online. Sometimes people don't have a choice and they need to order their supplies, all of their supplies online. I much prefer to choose threads and fabrics and yarns and things like that in person, but that's me. All right, we're going to do one more line of stitching here, which may or may not show in the final result. And this is not the finest sewing in the entire world. Nancy Zeman used to say, Sewing with Nancy Zeman used to say, you never do your best sewing on television. She's very correct. Okay, so here is our stitching. I just did stitching lines about 3/8 to a 1/2 inch apart. And I just use gray thread on the back, and my machine needs to be cleaned, and I'm picking up some fuzz from the presser foot area, but forgive me for that. Okay? All right, so the question for you guys is this. This is where you get to vote. I have about 50 minutes left on this stream. Would you like to see one of these all the way through to completion? Or would you like for me to do these 3 as far as I can get them in that amount of time, and then I can finish them on Friday as well as do something else? Hello, Marilyn. Hi, Starla. I know, right, Denise? $3,000 back. Yep. It seemed exorbitant, but do you know how much they cost today? You vote to finish one completely. Okay. Anybody else want to input? Finish one. Okay. Hi, Joyce. Okay. Would you like to see this one finished that I already have this far? Finish one. And then I can finish the other ones on my own and show them to you on Friday. we could do that. I was thinking about doing some paste papers on Friday. How's that sound to you guys? You like that idea? Okay. All right, we'll do this. We'll do the thing here. We will finish this one. Whoop. Gotta get the right one. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do, in a perfect world, I would change the thread to another thread that was matching. Maybe we should do that because we want to do one and we want to do it right. Let me see if this is this thread. I have all these wonderful bobbins. But they don't have a lot of thread on them, so we're going to have to I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do here. You know, we're just going to we're going to use it the way it is with the gray thread on the bobbin, which is not ideal. Ideal is to have matching thread on the top and the bobbin. But, you know, humor me and let's see what we can do, okay? Just humor me. All right. This, I think, is going to be what we're going to use around the outside edge. It is a multicolored, variegated, I don't know what it is, thread. Something cheap. This is a good one that was wrapped around it. I don't know if there's enough here to do around that. Let's see. There is. Let's use that one instead. I kind of like it a little bit better. And I might be able to switch to go to a little darker thread too. See, I change my mind 100 different times, you know. Because I'm a woman and I get to do that. All right, let's go to these colors. I think there's enough thread here to manage this. I'm getting really low on my selection of King Tut threads. My all-time favorite, though, of all the King Tut threads is this one. Yeah. 924. That's my very favorite color. I have that in several spools. I have several spools of that one. Yep, I surely do. All right, let's... Oh, come on now. All right, why aren't you... Hang on just a second. I'm having a moment here. There we go. I wasn't getting in the thread guide right. Okay, here we go. We're gonna again presser foot up when you thread your machine. Okay. And while we're talking about the presser foot is down when you sew. That includes when you are doing free motion stitching. The presser foot must be down. Okay? I suggest, if you don't think you can remember that, which is something that is easy to do. It's easy to forget or not remember which way is which. Make yourself a note and put it someplace in the area where you sew, so you will remember how that goes. Alright, in this case I have the same color thread on the top and the bobbin because I decided to do that. I'm going to bring up my bobbin thread and I'm going to do a zigzag stitch. And I'm going to lay this thread at the edge of my little, yes, the edge of my little mug cup, sleeve holder, sleeve, we'll just call it a sleeve. So I'm going to lay it, all right, actually, let's see, do I want to lay it on the edge? I might, yeah, we'll just lay it on the edge. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. You can do any number of things. You can attach these things any number of ways. And I'm going to zigzag stitch and I'm not going to have it be real close together. And all I want to do is keep those together. You can let the yarn be on top of the sleeve, or in this case I have it running beside the sleeve. So you can do it whichever way you want it to be. You just have to try things and see what you like. How does your machine behave doing this stuff? Another thing you can do, rather than put yarn at the edge or a trim at the edge, you could just zigzag and do a satin stitch around the edge. You could do that as well. Okay, now here's where on Friday I gave you a good tip, and it was a good tip, and it's still a good tip, and that is leave your needle in the fabric when you turn the corner. Don't have it out here in midair. Slip something behind the presser foot to cover the feed dogs. Okay? It's not going to stitch, the machine isn't going to stitch backwards and stitch these two together. It's only going forward. But it gives this piece something, some traction. If you're trying to stitch in midair, and on corners, I can tell you the truth. It is going to be a frustration, and your sewing machine does not like it. So just put something over the feed dogs. It doesn't have to be a piece of your fabric art. It can be just a little folded up piece of fabric. It could even be a piece of folded paper. Just something that covers the feed dogs. It gives the machine traction and lets you stitch and get going. Otherwise, it can just sit there and often just stitches back and forth. So the setting on my machine for this zigzag is 3.5 in the width and almost 2 in the length. That's the setting that I personally am using. But you got to check with your machine, try your machine. If you don't have a user's manual for your machine because you bought it, maybe you bought it from somebody, you know, a personal, an individual, and they didn't have the owner's manual, look online, because very often you can find, in fact, most of your owner's manuals are online now. so you can get a hold of them. And I'm just making sure I think I need to go. Yeah, it's all right. Sometimes you just kind of have to test and see a couple times before you get going. But if you don't have an owner's manual that goes with your machine, I highly recommend that you get one. Either download it, print it, buy one, whatever. Or go, if you bought your machine at a dealer, which I hope you did, go to the dealer and talk to them about getting an owner's manual. They're sometimes not cheap. But that doesn't mean that you don't want to have it. Okay, now look at what it looks like. Okay, so there it is with one row of zigzag stitching all the way around. And in this particular one, it looks okay just with the one row. So I am going to not go around it again. I know. Look at me living dangerously. So I just stitched in place a little bit. You can go over it a second time. You could go over it as many times as you have thread for to go over it. But in this case, I like the way it looks just with one row of zigzag stitching, and there was plenty of yarn. Look, we have all that left. Okay, now most generally I will take a little bit of tacky glue or this art glitter glue. I use some kind of white glue, and I usually put a little bit on where these two ends are, something that's going to dry clear and matte. And that just helps to make sure that any ends stay put. You can see a little bit of the quilt batting right here. And you know what you do with that is you can take a fabric marker, or if you have a Sharpie that matches, and just touch that quilt batting. And that will color that quilt batting and hide it. Okay? All right, so there is that. All right, the next step is we need to decide what color velcro we want on this so that our little sleeve will be able to hold on to our mug, our cup. So I have all of this velcro that I bought. I bought it from Amazon, and of course it's made in China because isn't it all? Only it's called hook and loop tape, but I call it velcro. So I'm going to have a piece of it that's one piece attaches on the inside and the other piece attaches on the outside. And if you don't have to have colored velcro, but if you want to have colored velcro, it just kind of blends in there at the point of attachment on your cup. Okay, so let's see, what do we have here that might work. Maybe the red is maybe the best one. That's too bright. Or there's a gray. I do have a gray. The pink is too pink. Look at all these choices of colors of velcro. I bet you wish you had one of these. I bet you did. So we could put gray. The gray is not bad at all. Or we could do red. All right, what do you think? Gray or red? You guys vote. Vote in the chat. You want gray or red velcro for this? What do you think we should use? Gray or red? Rhonda says gray. Okay. You guys vote. Gray or red. There's your, you can see the choices right there. Dorothy says red. Kel says gray. Denise sounds like a nice color. What did Denise say? Use King Tut Joseph's coat variegated and oh, Joseph's coat's a beautiful color. Yeah, it surely is. Jenny says red. Okay, we're running neck and neck, red and gray. We got 3 reds and 3 grays. Hi, Jill. All right, somebody break the tie. Somebody's got to break the tie for me. Red. Okay, Starla says red. You're the tiebreaker. We're going to use red. All right, so what you want to do is I cut my piece of Velcro. The length, okay, let me show you on one of these. So it goes inside the edge, okay? So it's that. It's going to depend on, your measurement's going to depend on your personal, private measurement. So we got to have it fit inside there, and that's okay. And I cut it in half. You don't need a piece of Velcro this big. It's not going to hold anything huge on, you know, it's not taking any stress or strain, so you don't need a huge width of Velcro by any means. Alright, so just cutting the hook side and the loop side, and then I'm just splitting them down the middle just by eye. Okay? Alright. Then you get to decide which side you want where, because one goes on the outside and the other one goes on the inside. I put the fuzzy side, the loop side, on the outside of my sleeve. So I just put it on here. I just lay it on there. I'm going to use a straight stitch with needle position in the middle of my foot, and I'm going to use about a 2.5 millimeter long stitch. Alright, and then I'm just going to stitch all the way around, very close to the edge. Okay, so close to the edge. And I just stitch over my initial stitching several stitches, and then I call it done. Then you want to go to the other side, because this is the outside where we put the loopy stuff. So you're going to come to the other end of your sleeve and put it on the inside. And I do it the same way. I position it as much the same as possible as the other one. Stitching very close to the edge. Stitching the hook side sometimes is a little more challenging. Just go slowly. It does not make a pretty stitch, by the way. Your sewing machine does not like to stitch over things like this. But you know what? You're the boss of your sewing machine, so stitch it. All right, and hopefully shall we see? Let's take a look and see. This is where we're going to do the trial fit. Everybody keep your fingers crossed. Your fingers and toes crossed. That it's going to work. Okay, so here we go. There's the hook on this side, there's the loop on that side. Let's put them together. Let's just go ahead and stick them together. Your lines of stitching may or may not line up going all the way across, because you know it's a handmade thing. So it may or may not line up exactly. I'm just trying to get the top and the bottom edges to line up. Okay, there we go. All right, here you go. Let's put it on. And Bob's your uncle. It fit. It fit. And that's the hand-painted fabric. It's actually a piece of ugly hand-painted fabric, to be quite honest. But the tulle over the top of it helped make it more, give it a little bit different tone, which I like personally. And it takes an ugly fabric, something that nobody's ever going to make. I can't even duplicate that, and I painted it. I think it looks cool. Yeah, I like it too. So anyway, there you go. And then you have a little wiggle room with your Velcro, because you have a little bit of width there. So if you need to kind of move it around one way or the other, you can do that. But I was telling everybody on Friday that I have one of these that I carry in my purse all the time. I don't have it in here with me right now, but I have one of these that I made, and I carry it with me all the time because sometimes, I mean, I've been to various coffee places and they run out of these. They run out of the cardboard sleeves, and sometimes the coffee or hot drinks, could be even hot water, is so hot that even if it's double cupped, sometimes it still is too hot for your hand to hold it. But if you have a fabric sleeve that has the cotton batting inside of it, I find that really helps. In fact, if there is a sleeve on here, a cardboard sleeve, sometimes I put this over the top of it even. Anyway, besides that, it looks cool. And you made it yourself. It's a fun gift. It's a fun gift to give people. It's, you know, if they go out, if they enjoy hot drinks, going someplace, you know, they're fun. Yeah, and some don't provide them at work. Yeah, so there you go. Anyway, so there is that one. So we have this one. This one is also hand-painted fabric. This one is. This one is the recycled cutter quilt. That's what this one is. So that's a piece of quilt fabric, an old quilt that was destined for the trash. In fact, it was being used in the bottom of dog crates at a vet's office, and somebody rescued it and gave it to me. So she said, I knew you'd know what to do with it. I'm like, well, okay. Oops, sorry. I know that was loud. I just hit the microphone with my face. Sorry. And here's this one. Okay, so this one will look like this. Okay. And this one is this one. So here you have one in red and black. Which one do you love? This one? Is this the one you like, Rhonda? The orange one, yeah. So anyway, there you go. These do take a little bit of time, but you know, where else are you going to get a handmade coffee sleeve? You know, this and a $10 or $5 or, you know, whatever gift card to a coffee, somebody's favorite coffee place or tea shop or whatever. That's a nice gift. Anyway, but you haven't invested a lot of money in it. You've invested some time. And I like this one with the yarn around the edge of it. You know, this has trim, like a rat tail or mouse tail trim around the edge of these. Some of the other one that I had that I showed last Friday had a trim that I made. So you can do whatever you want. All right. Yeah, the little gift card, it's easy peasy and doesn't cost anything to, well, we can't say it doesn't cost anything to mail it because everything costs something to mail these days, right? But the point is, you could put it in a small package. Wouldn't take as much. All right. I will see you on Friday. That is my plan. So until then, you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, weekend, week, whatever, whenever you're watching. Do something nice for somebody. Stay out of the stressy crap that tends to go with the holidays. Don't let them get you down, okay? Just don't do it. Just make it fun as best you can. Enjoy it because that's what we should do. Oh, there's Muppet. All right, you guys, be kind, be nice, have fun, enjoy, play, and remember, above all, remember to get creative today because you know it's easy. And I'll see you before you know it. Bye for now.